listening to an all-new episode of the Christian Gray Snow Show, a podcast from Hurrdat Media. I'm your host, Christian Gray Snow, and today we are celebrating because it's Real Housewives of Potomac season, baby, and the season 7 premiere was lit, to say the least. Plus, from Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, Whitney Rose is here to chat about season 3 of the show, her company, and the upcoming season of Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip. Time's a wasting, and we might as well be like Jen Shaw and make the most of every moment we have left. Let's get started. All right, everybody, we are off to an insane start in Potomac, Maryland. Not that I expected any less. Let's just, my God, can we give these girls their flowers? I mean, they bring it constantly. The drama and like the level of their drama, it's not, you know, listen, I love my Beverly Hills girls, but the drama over here is not about being unfollowed on Instagram, okay? It's like, nah, your husband was sliding into my DMs. Like, this is some real shit, okay? This is the kind of stuff that we sign up for. This is why I have cable, is shit like this, okay? We are off to an insane start. Joining us this season are the core four, the OGs. And honestly, how iconic that they started this journey together 8 years ago, and 4 of them are still standing together. It's incredible. That is Giselle, Karen, Ashley, and of course, Robin. They kick off the premiere. They gather in by the famous DC cherry blossoms, which shout out to the producers on this. I don't know. It was just, sometimes simplicity is key. You know, I think it was Danny Pellegrino tweeted a couple weeks ago. I think Andy even responded to him. He's like, I'm sick of like, you know, the murder mystery parties and the Roaring Twenties and the Great Gatsby's. Like, not every fucking thing has to have a theme. When's the last actual theme event you went to? Halloween. We have one theme event every year. You do not need to have a fucking theme party for every event. Like, a simple dinner goes a long way. And the reason I'm saying this is because the simplicity of having these 4 gather at an area that represents the city that we are seeing visually to just simply catch up on everything that's happened since we last saw them. And it was a fire scene. I mean, the mess was, the mess was endless from the beginning. First to rise to the top of the discussion list was Miss Mia, okay? As we all know, Mia went on her Instagram prior to the ladies starting to film and said that she had pretty much been diagnosed with cancer, or that she was having a cancer scare. And then it kind of turned into, I'm not sure what the diagnosis is, but we're still scared, which obviously is an incredibly terrifying situation, no matter how you cut it. But not to these women. You know, they didn't give a shit. They said, Mia, we're confused. And they just started talking about it right there. And it's like, I don't know, you know, only in the world of Real Housewives are scams surrounding cancer like the norm. You know what I mean? Like, we already had the Vicky and Brooks thing, which don't get me started. Y'all know Vicky is my girl. I will die in this world believing that Vicky did not know Brooks was lying. Okay. However, I don't know. I don't really, in this moment, while I do think Mia is an attention girly, she loves her attention. I don't really think that this was an attempt like that. And we see later at this party that Karen's having, it was a party that had about 10 words in the name. It was like the super special spring kickoff taco, once in a lifetime, never miss this kind of event ever. Karen had this event we saw later in the episode, and listen, Giselle wasted no time. Giselle's ass went right up to me and said, is this what no cancer looks like? Like, who the fuck in their right mind in this world does that and gets away with it? Giselle Bryant. She's the only one that gets away with it. Okay. And, you know, she asked Mia in that moment, she's like, what was the reason? Like, what were you doing? Because it was very confusing to us and it felt very like attention baity, you know? And Mia's like, fuck you. And rightfully so. And Mia said, I was using my platform just to talk about how I felt. She's like, in that moment, I wasn't thinking about what I was representing or who I was possibly confusing. She was like, in that moment, my doctor told me that he was almost certain that I had a form of cancer. And what you saw was a woman and a mom and a wife simply freaking the fuck out and being a little scared, and posted it on her social, maybe to just get some feedback and have some reassurance that maybe things are going to be okay. So again, this is episode 1. I joked the other day that I have to sign up for a weekly therapy appointment now that Potomac is back in session. And I'm not even fucking playing, because like the drama surrounding this gives me trauma. Okay. And like I said, cancer is not the only scandal that we're talking about. We also have cheating and divorces going on. Yes, as we all know by now, Ashley is divorcing Michael Darby. The Australian is going back down under. And we see that Ashley, yes, though she is divorcing Michael, and she confirms it with the women that this is what she's decided to do. We don't necessarily know the straw that broke the camel's back yet, but she alludes that there was something that was just kind of like, okay, that's it. So I'm sure that we'll see what that was. But the confusing thing is that Ashley is talking about buying a house. Okay, that's normal. Post-divorce, you got to go get a house. But she's buying the house with Michael in the LLC that their company name is under. And I get like Michael works in real estate, and as the father of her children and soon to be ex-husband, I'm sure she does have trust for him in her heart and maybe wants to believe that he isn't going to screw her over, which I want to believe as well. However, if you are really actually trying to make a clean break from this man, why in the hell are you putting his name on the house or putting the house under a company name that he still has access to? Because if you are out here and find yourself up and under the hottest man you've ever seen, and then your ex-man gets jealous, guess what's going to happen? The locks on that house are going to change, and you're going to be outside with your kids. And that's exactly what her Uncle Lump was trying to tell her. Her Uncle Lump was giving her advice. He's like, what kind of fucking divorce is this? We got LLCs. You ain't even talked to I love Ashley. Ashley's probably my favorite housewife of Potomac. In fact, she is. I know she is. But she ain't even consulted a lawyer yet. Honey, consult the lawyers while you still got Michael's credit cards. You know what I'm saying? Like, use his coins while you can to get away and get more of his coins. You know what I'm saying? So I do think that Uncle Lump gave her great advice, and it wasn't only from Uncle Lump. It was also from Karen. It was also from Giselle. They were like, look, we love you and we want to believe you, but we kind of feel like you're fucking with us a little bit. It's like you want to divorce him, but you're not really, 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 truly letting go and kind of really removing yourself from this relationship, you know? So it will definitely be interesting. Ashley has had her fair share of dynamic fucking storylines throughout the years, as we all know. And it seems that season 7 is going to be no different. Again, I love Ashley Darby. I think she's fucking iconic. And I'm very, very excited to not only get the backstory as to what really led her to want to move forward with the divorce from Michael, but to also watch her navigate this journey and see if she actually even wants to be apart from him at all, you know? Moving on, as I said, divorce isn't the only scandal, honey. Cancer isn't the only scandal, honey. There's also possible cheating scandals. Yes, the list is not in there. As I mentioned earlier, it gets messy. Robin and Ashley meet up, okay? And they're just chatting, catching up, you know. And Ashley tells Robin that she got a DM from Chris Bassett. And Chris Bassett, we know, is Candace Dillard's husband. Chris is now the general manager of some like rooftop restaurant at like a hotel in DC. And Ashley got a DM from him one night saying, you know, you and your girls, like you and your friends should have come to the W. Come to the W to party. Okay, that's fine. And I'm not a Candace fan. I don't like Candace. And I could use this opportunity to really jump on the bandwagon and go against her. But I'm trying to be fair. Okay. And trying to be fair, yes, he is the manager of this restaurant. Having the girls come by and party and see people, of course, that's great for publicity and it's going to make people like me, fans of the show and stuff, whenever I'm in town, that's where the hell I'm going to go. Of course, it's obviously. However, to send that text at 2:40 in the morning, what bar is open at 2:40 in the morning in DC? The bar in your hotel bedroom. That is it. And she said that she knew Candace wasn't there. So listen, I know Candace is going to sit here and say that there was nothing to it. And a lot of the women are saying, you know, Chris is just a really good guy. And I actually do think that Chris Bassett is a good guy. But good guys fuck up too. And I do think that he fucked up. And then Robin takes that little tidbit of information and she runs back to Mouth of the South, Giselle, and she tells Giselle, listen, Ashley was, you know, we were talking about her divorce. We're picking out wallpapers. It was a bunch of bullshit. She's not actually leaving Michael. Also, side fact, she said that Chris Bassett slid into her DMs. And in that moment, if you go back and look, I took a screenshot of this the other day. I need to post it. You can literally see the wheels turning in Giselle's head. Executive producer Giselle Bryant. Okay. Giselle is messy as fuck, but it's because she knows how to make good TV. It is what it is. I get so frustrated with Giselle, but it's because Giselle is shameless and will do whatever she has to do to make every single episode worth watching. And for that, I commend her. So in that moment, that's when Giselle has also said, she's like, look, Chris has messaged me before, and kind of makes it seem like, and we've seen teases for the rest of the season where Giselle says something like, I've been around married men who try to see if you're down. And she said, to me, it was trying to seem like he was trying to see if I was with it. And my whole thing is like, but you didn't mention that until somebody else did. So it will be very interesting. Look, does it look like Giselle grabbed onto it? It reminded me of that reunion episode of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills where Lisa Rinna accused Lisa Vanderpump of whenever Yolanda walked out of a birthday event and Yolanda had been super sick. Lisa Rinna said that Vanderpump goes, there's our fucking storyline for the season, Yolanda being sick. And I think in that moment, it was probably like the first week or so of filming, Robin tells Giselle, I actually said that Chris Bassett slid in her DMs. And like I said, you can see those wheels turning. And Giselle, in the words of Lisa Rinna, said, there goes our fucking storyline. All right, everybody. Well, that's all for my Potomac thoughts this week. There's going to be plenty more to come. I can't exhaust myself with it this week because like I said, I already have to talk to my therapist about it on a weekly basis. So I'll have more Potomac thoughts for y'all next week. But up next is my sit-down chat with the one and only Whitney Rose from Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. All right, everybody. My guest today is currently starring in season 3 of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. She's on a spiritual healing journey, but I hope today she puts that to the side just to be as messy as possible with me, okay? Everybody, please welcome the one and only Whitney Rose. Hi, Whitney.
Hi, Christian. It's so good to see you again.
It's so good to see you. Yeah, we actually ran into each other back in my WeHo days before I moved up here to Seattle at my old favorite bar, Revolver. You remember that, correct?
Absolutely. I remember running right into you, and you recognized Justin first, I think.
I did. I saw Justin, and then I remember you guys had just seen Garth Brooks in concert. So I was like, how is Garth Brooks? I fucking love Garth Brooks. Yeah.
That night was wild. It was so fun to see you, though.
Yeah, well, and we'll have to do a replay of that at BravoCon this week, right?
From what I remember of it, we had fun.
Yeah, we absolutely did. Well, to kick things off, I always like to just do like a fun icebreaker question. So first name that comes to mind, I am not excited to see blank at BravoCon this week.
Oh, Meredith Marks.
Really?
Yeah, I'm going to get myself in trouble, but just because last week was a really hard episode for me to watch.
Yes.
And the thing is like they say that living trauma and reliving it, your body doesn't know the difference. It's the same like physiological response. So I was really stressed and like really having a hard time just reliving that episode. And she decided to come at me on Twitter of all nights. Like,
yeah, I remember seeing your tweet. You're like, by the way, of all nights, like maybe this isn't the one to be doing this shit, Yeah, I get that.
It kind of just let me down. I was really actually, like hurt by that. And it bugged me because I'm like, where were you all season? You've had months to say this to me.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick trip down memory lane today as we dive into all things Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Whitney, do you remember where you first were when you found out that the Salt Lake City franchise was coming, or that the Housewives franchise was coming to Salt Lake City? I'm sorry. And were you like, oh my God, I got to be a part of this? Take me down that trip.
Yeah. So actually, I was DM'd by a producer. So I was standing in my kitchen and it was like a holy shit moment.
Yeah. Cause you watched Housewives prior, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I started with OC. So
yes,
I know. So it's crazy, Christian, because it was never something like I thought about. Like I never envisioned myself being a housewife. I didn't necessarily ever want to be one. Mm-hmm. I just love the franchise. I love Bravo. So I think that the universe just really like pulled through and was like, no, you need to do this.
Look at that. Meant to be. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we're a few episodes into your third season so far. Looking back, how do you feel season 3? What's the biggest difference between season 3 and the first 2 seasons that we saw?
The biggest difference is the dynamic of friends. We're coming off of the Lisa and Meredith fight, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't really get much resolve at reunion.
At all.
So we go immediately into filming season 3. So that, already there's like weird dynamics within the group. And I think the biggest difference is that bad weather is having weather upon ourselves.
Yes, very much so.
That's the biggest difference.
Okay. Yeah, we're going to get into that a little bit more, the Heather thing later. What were your thoughts when you found out that season 3 was only going to consist of 5 full-time cast members?
I was a little bit worried because the producers had warned us, hey, you're used to 7 people.
Mm-hmm.
When there's 5, it becomes so much harder because everyone is carrying more weight.
Yeah.
So they're like, we're going to really push you to dive into your personal life, to dive into your relationships with each other. So I was like, well, I was hesitant, but at the same time, I'm like, I always dive in head first. I'm like, well, here we go.
Yeah. You're like, nothing new for me, right?
I didn't know it was going to be this turbulent, but I knew it was going to be a bumpy ride.
Yeah. Well, speaking of turbulent, we witnessed a huge blow up between you and Heather this week. And I will say, not only was I not expecting y'all to fall out at all, I certainly wasn't expecting it this early in the season. Like when I saw the preview last week for this week, I was like, oh shit, like that's already happening. So, take me into that moment where you two had that blow up in Scottsdale. Like I know that you love Heather, you're close, and in that moment you're realizing, okay, all this is not only is it happening, it's happening on camera. So what's going through your head at that time?
Well, I, without breaking fourth wall too much, this was a big thing of the Lisa situation and the rumors around Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
This was a big buildup. It started all the way back when we filmed Reunion.
Okay.
There was definitely like a plan of revenge, right? And none of us enjoyed Lisa at that time. So we were all talking about it. And so that moment with Heather, the thing that was like so frustrating, it didn't make sense to me because I know that I've had these conversations with Heather. I know how she feels about Lisa. I thought I knew how she felt about me, like deeply. And in that moment, it was so hard because not only did I feel like she left me out to dry, in a weird way, she like had Lisa's back.
Oh, okay.
And so it was just like, it was a really hard moment because I had realized that I had been set up by the others to be the fall guy.
Gotcha.
And I know that they'll argue that, oh, you did this to yourself because you said it. But what do you think is going to happen when you give Whitney Rose information? Like I can't, if it's the truth, I have to say it.
Yeah. And
like,
they knew what they were doing.
They knew what they were doing. And, I don't want to change that about myself because I love my messy self and I always get shit done.
Yeah.
But the thing is that like watching it is so painful and I don't want that to ruin me going forward. Like I don't want to change that about myself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
I work on a few things. Like I was mortified with how drunk I was. Like we've been day drinking and night drinking and and I don't want to throw this card, but it was hard. Like I probably shouldn't have been drinking at that point in time.
Got you. Okay.
My therapist was like, don't do it. And I did it
anyway. Well, something I wanted to ask, because we saw a scene too where your daughter Bobby was listing out pros and cons of boys, which I just thought was hilarious. And Heather came over during that scene and she gave me very much like Auntie Heather vibes, for your kids. So I just wanted to ask, have your kids, have they noticed a difference in your and Heather's relationship recently?
Yeah, absolutely. Because Brooks, he's 9. Mm-hmm. He doesn't really buy into it too much. Like he's just like, Mom, you okay? What's going on? He only likes to see when he's on TV and he leaves the room. Like,
I feel that.
Yeah. And I don't really like sit and watch the shows with my kids, but Bobby's 12 and she knows what's going on. She knows how to watch the show even if I say no.
Yeah.
Right. And for her, it's been, in a weird way, it's been an interesting, teaching lesson because she just entered middle school. And, there's a lot of drama with girls around 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. And I've been able to her explain to her, like, well, look, this is what I'm going through. It never ends. You have to figure out how to handle your relationships, you know?
You have this to look forward to, shit, for the rest of your life.
Because bitches will come for you your entire life.
Yeah, even the bitches that you thought were your closest bitches. Yeah.
Yeah, and I really hope, like, Heather and I are not in a great spot right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I really do hope that at some point in time, probably when Jen goes away, we can work on I hope that she wants it back, because so far it just feels like I'm the one that constantly chases her, and you'll see that throughout season 3. It was like I was chasing a ex-boyfriend that didn't want me anymore.
Got you.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, that's almost worse than the falling out itself, is just feeling like that she doesn't want to repair it, right?
Yeah, and it was hard, and that's really what ultimately led Lisa and I, because Lisa was standing up for me. Lisa was having my back. She showed up for me as a true friend.
Mm-hmm.
And I never saw that coming.
Got you.
Like, wow. I did not expect Lisa, after the shit I've said about her.
Well, I mean, but also we got to be honest though. Lisa didn't have no backup going into the season.
Yeah. And trust me, like, starting out, I didn't want to be Lisa's backup, but I got to see her. I don't know if it translated in the episode very well, but Lisa was so vulnerable in episode 2.
Oh, talking about her childhood and stuff. Yes.
And you have to, I didn't know that. Like, I didn't know she said that in her interview until I watched it.
Okay, got you. So you still didn't even know any of this about her?
No, I didn't know. I just knew, but she had told me about her childhood being hard and rough. And I'm an energy vibes girl. And I felt like something happened to her as a little girl. I said that in the episode. And that's where we connected, is like we shared with each other, not details, but just that, hey, this is what we have in common.
Yeah. Wow.
And you need a friend, I need a friend. Like, I really needed Heather. And
yeah, I mean, maybe it was meant to be that you and Lisa, you're kind of both going through some like personal childhood stuff that you're reliving on a very, very public global platform. And, you're both kind of the last one that the other expected to be there going along with you through that. So it's kind of a good surprise, right?
It was a good surprise. And the things that used to irritate me about Lisa, I now love, because I didn't understand. Like, I didn't understand where she was coming from with it. Okay. Does that make sense? Now I know her so much better. Like, I get her.
That makes sense.
And I can just, even if it's like, if something irritates me, I just laugh at her. I'm like, Lisa.
You're just able to let it go.
Yeah, just like she does with me.
Cool. How often, someone from Instagram sent this in, how often do you and Lisa hang out off camera now?
Quite a bit.
Really? Good. I like this.
Yeah, I mean it. Like, I didn't expect to find such a good friend in Lisa. And we get together. John and Justin hang out the most.
Okay.
Yeah.
They seem like a fun duo.
Yeah. Lisa and I, are both really busy with businesses and kids, but we get together at least once a month. Like, and we talk all the time.
I love it. Yeah. Well, before we get into your businesses, I did want to ask you, obviously, Mary Cosby didn't show up to the reunion during season 2, which is like, as we all know, as Housewives viewers, is like the biggest no-no ever. Do you think Bravo should have given her another chance to come back season 3, or do you think they made the right decision?
I think they made the right decision. However, it was hard because Mary never got a chance to tell her side of the story. Ever. So, and I think that that's really important for her to tell her story. Because right before reunion, a lot of big allegations were coming out. Her aunts and uncles were doing podcasts, started a YouTube channel, all of these things. And I really was hoping that Mary would be able to come and face that and share her side of the story.
She could have cleared it all up.
We know everyone's side except for Mary's.
Yep. And also, and me as like a viewer who I loved Mary from day one, and it's like you root for these people, and it's like the reunion is really the only chance you have to set the story straight, and you bailed out. Like, come on,
Yeah, exactly. And so reunion for me, I kind of just sat there and twiddled my thumbs, because that was my entire.
you're like, well, shit, there goes what I needed to talk about.
Yeah, so I just sat and held up my sleeve.
I love it. Well, let's talk about the future of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. You know,
Yes.
there's the big elephant in the room. You know, Jen Shaw, her sentencing did just get pushed back about a month, but she will be sentenced before the end of the year. What does Salt Lake City look like without Jen Shaw? Do you think there will be a Salt Lake City without Jen Shaw?
Yeah, I think that if anything, season 3, Salt Lake City has proven that we will be around no matter what. Like, I think that it's strong enough. There's enough here. Like, we're just scratching at the surface.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. So I really do think that, I think most people would think, it can't survive without a Jen or a Mary, but I think we can, and I think we will. And
I think you will too.
I think that it actually, I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Well, we're gonna dive into Wildrose Beauty next. When I was talking with Jerwin about booking this interview with you, I was like, I want to talk about the skincare company, the A to Z of it all, because I'm just fascinated with like everything from formulas to packaging to, just everything. So talk to me about Wildrose Beauty. How are you feeling about the success of your brand at this moment?
I am so grateful that I never gave up on this concept. I mean, I really started developing this 5 years ago, before Housewives, at the time I had a full-time corporate job when I started working on the skincare company.
Really?
Yes, I did. And it is a work in progress, because I, from day one, said I will never take out a loan. I'll never go in debt. And I don't want an investor. So I'm just going to bootstrap it. And I think that if you watch just even the evolution of the brand from Iris and Beau to Wildrose Beauty, like, it's just the beginning. Like, the next step I'm so excited for, we're going to move into like custom packaging. I think this is just the beginning. Like, this is just the beginning. And I'm so proud of the success I've had so far. And I am so, so grateful for all my customers and the community. And especially people like you, Christian, who take the time to make a reel. Like, that means so much to me. Like,
well, listen, and I wouldn't have done it if the products weren't anything to make a reel about, but they were, and I still use them. Like, I mean, the Glow moisturizer is my shit. Like, I actually was going to order some more, but I was like, I don't know if it'll be here in time before BravoCon, so I'm just coming to the booth literally the first thing on Friday so I can get some.
I love you. Yeah, we will have you. We got you covered at the booth.
Perfect.
No, I appreciate that. Because my products are the number one. I mean, my products are amazing. And I feel like we are taught as consumers that if it's not in glamorous packaging, if the packaging costs more than the product, then you have a problem.
Exactly. And you can tell when you buy a skincare product where the money went. Did it go into the formula or did it go into the packaging and the look?
And I am excited to level up and get, into more like to execute on my vision. I would say I'm halfway through my final vision. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I love it.
I'm so damn proud because I've done it. I've done it all on my own. I've built this. My husband has nothing to do with it.
Yes.
So
sorry, Justin.
I mean, we'll get into that later this season. There's some, as if it hasn't been hard enough already, just with my personal life and my family, my childhood, my relationship with Heather. There's more coming. It's like this year is one of those years where it's just like
never ending, right?
Yeah. But Wildrose Beauty has saved me. I honestly, my children, my family, and Wildrose Beauty has been what's kept me going.
I love it. Well, tell me, what was the hardest part? If you had to pick a single hardest part about creating this line over the last 5 years, what would it be?
For me, deciding on products, because
Really?
I'm a product junkie. There's so many amazing ingredients and products out there, and narrowing it down to just what gives everyone everything. The goal is to not have to have 17 products to get the job done, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So that was the hardest part, is just narrowing down that. And then after that, I would say it is not giving up, staying consistent. even when you're like, okay, I have liquid gold in my hands, but I'm only getting 2 orders a day. Like, what's going on? Why? So I think that just staying consistent and not giving up. I'm so glad I never gave up, because now I'm starting to see the benefits of hard work and consistency.
And that's a word for anybody out there starting, whether even just like a small side hustle, or whether you want to just start a whole brand like you did. I mean, it really is just about, everybody's going to have those shitty days, and you just got to hope that the better days are coming.
Yeah. And even with like your exercise, diet, spirituality, consistency, to stay grounded, it is constant work. Right. Yeah. So I'm just grateful somewhere along the way I picked up great work ethic, and yeah.
There you go. Well, a moment of manifestation before we move on to the last topic. In 5 years from now, where will Wildrose Beauty be as a brand?
5 years from now, you'll be able to walk into any big retailer and buy it.
Love it.
If you so choose. If not, we'll still have you online and your subscriptions. I am so excited. We are about to be on Amazon.
Oh.
So it makes it easier for the consumer. But 5 years from now, I am no longer going to be worrying about the small stuff, and we're going to put all the money in innovation and having keeping the best products coming.
Boom. There you go, everybody. I love it. All right. Well, the last thing that I want to talk about before we wrap up is obviously Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip Season 3. As we all know by now, you were a part of the cast, which if you're going to ask me, that is such an honor, because like we're sitting here like this is y'all's 3rd year into this, and y'all are doing this for this new series that people like Vicky Gunvalson, Kyle Richards, Teresa, people that have been doing this for 15 years.
Like the OG Housewives.
Yeah. So I just think that it's so iconic that y'all, we get to be a part of this. Similar to the thing I asked you earlier, where were you when you found out that you might get to do this?
Okay, so I was at my brother Curtis's house in Arizona.
Okay.
After we wrapped season 3, I went back and visited my brother, who you're going to meet, I think, in next week's episode.
Okay.
I was laying by his pool, and I got a call from our executive, and when I tell you I had the chills, I had the effing chills. Like, I kind of went numb everywhere and was just like, oh my God, like, because I felt the same way. I'm like, me?
It's huge.
Yeah. And at the time, we didn't know who was going to be on the cast. But she did tell me that Heather was going. And so I was like, okay, this is going to be good for Heather and I. We got this.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's crazy. So without giving away too much, were you and Heather on good terms for the start of that trip? Like, y'all had to travel all the way to Thailand together? That's a long flight with somebody you're not talking to.
Yeah, we actually didn't travel together. We were on different airlines.
Oh.
But I think, normally we would have been, but you're just going to have to wait to see the rest of the season. And I think it is good. Like, but Girls Trip, it's up and down.
Oh, okay. Well,
but
I have to.
I'm going to say, like, ultimately, I think that everything happens for a reason. And Heather is killing it. She's super successful, and Beauty Lab is like raking it in right now. She's about to open her 2nd location.
Oh, wow. Good for her.
I'm doing well. Wildrose Beauty is doing well. Like, we're both thriving. So it's hard to everything happens for a reason.
Yeah. Yep. And all that will happen was also meant to happen. So all good things are coming. I have to ask, this is probably problematic, but I just have to ask, is Leah as annoying in real life as she is on TV?
No.
Whitney?
No. I got to fly one leg of my trip with Leah home.
Sorry.
Oh my God, Christian. No, I think that she is misunderstood. She's strong. She's a strong personality.
Okay.
But she is pretty consistent. Like, so if I would say, I don't know. I didn't find her. I liked her.
Okay, good.
I feel bad for her. She came alone. She didn't have anyone in her corner. Like, you know what I mean? Like, at least, even though Heather and it was awkward to start, like, I knew I had my girl Heather there.
That's true. I didn't even think about that. That is a very, very good point.
There, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
And you had strong, like, Potomac. Giselle and Candace, two of the strong,
Yeah.
So, I mean, that would be hard.
Yeah, it would be. Who do you think brought it the most of your group, if you had to say?
On Girls Trip?
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I love about the cast is everyone brought it, and they had to. Like, we dove in, and it was in the most authentic way possible. Like, it was so cool to genuinely get to know these women. And it was crazy because everyone is, for the most part, everyone's pretty seasoned, minus Heather and I, right? And Leah. It's like the dynamic, like the fire, it just moves across the table.
It's crazy.
It's like, it was Housewife Olympics.
Yeah, well, one thing I wanted to ask you too, I talked to Vicky and Kyle about their experiences doing it, and their biggest takeaway was just how exhausting it was, because they were like, it's literally working like 24/7 for like at least a week. So what was the recovery process like when you got back from Thailand? Were you exhausted?
I was so exhausted because you had like they said, working around the clock for 8 days straight, plus the time difference, like jet lag coming back from Thailand. When I tell you, there was days that I couldn't even scrape myself out of bed. I was like,
are you serious?
I was so physically exhausted, but my mind is racing because I knew I had to get stuff done.
Yeah.
But honestly, Christian, it was exhausting, but it was also really energizing for me. Like, I loved the experience.
Good. Oh, I can't wait to watch it. Yeah. And like I said, I think it's just so iconic that you got to be a part of that. And go you, girl. Go you. And we're going to wrap up, as we always do, with our rapid fire questions, where we see in 60 seconds how many messy, somewhat shady questions we can get through. I'm going to put 60 seconds on the clock. Are you ready?
This is when I get myself in trouble.
No, you won't, because the answers are so quick. We just have to keep moving.
But then, okay.
All right. First housewife from any city that comes to mind when I say the word rude.
I've never had anyone be rude to me.
Beautiful. Which cast member could benefit the most from Wildrose Beauty?
Pleading the fifth.
Will you and Heather ever be back where you once were?
Hopefully.
Okay. All-time favorite housewife from another city?
So hard. Sonia Morgan.
Oh, iconic. Yes. Who on your cast do you think is the most authentic?
Me.
Yeah. Who on your cast do you believe is the richest at the moment?
Lisa Barlow.
Really? Do you believe Meredith Marks when she says she could own multiple homes?
Sure. Yeah, she probably can.
On a scale of 1 to 10, rate Vita Tequila.
Oh, a 10.
Love it. And who is the least authentic on your show?
Pleading the fifth.
All right. Well, I will just have to ask you that when I see you at BravoCon later.
Yeah, I'll tell you in person.
Okay. All right, everybody. That was Whitney Rose. Make sure that you will go and get you some Wildrose Beauty products. Make sure you're watching season 3 of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City only on Bravo and streaming on Peacock every Wednesday. Whitney, thank you so much for being with me today. It means the world. You're my first Salt Lake City interview, so thank you so much.
Oh, thanks, Christian. Thanks for having me. I love you. Thanks.
I love you too. Of course. And we're going to whip it up in New York this week. I'll see you later.
Yeah, I have something for you. I know you're a Mary fan, so I have something for you. So for sure, come get your glow. And you're going to love our merch this year.
Oh, my God. I'm going to die. Okay. I will see you first thing Friday morning. Everybody, Whitney Rose. All right.
Bye.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me this week for another episode of the Christian Grace Snow Show. I can't let this episode end without thanking my guest, Whitney Rose, for joining me. She's my first guest from Salt Lake City. How cute is that? And y'all, do you know what today is? Today is the first official day of BravoCon. So catch my ass outside in New York City, hanging out with Vicky, hopefully seeing all these iconic, housewives. And what I really want to do is to meet y'all. So if y'all are at BravoCon this week and you see my little gay ass prancing around, yell, scream, wave your hands in the air, send smoke signals, yell obscenities, whatever you have to do to get my attention. I want to meet you guys. I want to come say, hey, let's take pictures. I want to find out where you're from. I want to find out who your favorite housewife is. I want to find out who you hate the most. Let's talk about everything. Be sure to get you some fun Real Housewives merch on the slutpigshop.com. And until next week, I'll see y'all later.